Cinema is an inherently risky and imperfect and emotional medium.
I've killed for you. Who else can say that?
A group of people are sitting in the dark and they've given you access to their brains through their eyes and their ears for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. That's a big responsibility, you know, and you have to be thoughtful about it. Like John Doe, as morally repellent as he is, he's got a point.
We see a deadly sin on every street corner, in every home, and we tolerate it. We tolerate it because it's common, it's trivial. We tolerate it morning, noon, and night.
And you're given a very, very finite amount of patience that the audience has for you to get those ideas across and thrill people with what your intention is.
I love this, like being the actual interviewer. I feel so much more in control. This is a real role reversal from having to just, you know, just be the Fincher bitch. Go over and over again. God damn it!
Once again.
Good. Once again.
Once again. Once again.
Great. Once again, Jesse, slide an inch to your right.
823. First print.
Was that English? Really?
First print.
Okay, well. I went to a summer program for filmmaking when I was just out of high school, and I saw enough to know that film school was not for me. I was surrounded by a lot of people who didn't want to pull cable or push dollies. Everybody wanted to be a director, everybody wanted to be an actor, and I was kind of like, I really want to be a good grip. I want to be a good focus puller. I was much more interested in kind of the tactile.
IMB camera.
Action! Come on, come on! I worked on Return of the Jedi, the chicken walkers, the tanks. I was one of those kids who was really committed to the idea of being on sets and watching how shit went down. I want to know what every motherfucker in the room does, so that when somebody says to me, we can't do that, it's like, oh yeah, well, Fisher Levin will do that, the drop-down plate, if you just do, you know. I never want to be the guy who was victimized by other people's laziness. You know, the dominoes were starting to kind of fall for me about coverage and over-the-shoulder shots, and how you knit, you know, a scene together. I think of my job as to create an environment. I don't think of it as so much about camera placement until after you've done a rehearsal and you've decided what people are going to do, and then you go, well, where's the moment here, and where do we have to be, and are we over the shoulder? Are we including a piece of a person, or are we just in seeing what they see? You know, how subjective is it?
Excuse me, miss. Yeah, I just want you to be careful where you put down that monk brewed Belgian wheat beer.
I'm trying to tell a story where two people meet for the first time. It's a cute party, but I want them to be even. I want it to be a 50-50. No one's bigger than anybody else in the frame.
So the party's down to like 3 beats, lights, and a bottle of pucker.
It might attract some desperate characters.
I mean, the Amish run a room sprinter.
But you need to see a man seduce a woman, or vice versa.
Let's see, who's your type? Is that him? Ironic hipster, so self-aware, it makes everything a joke.
I prefer men who are funny, not funny. A, I'm an award-winning scrimshander. B, I'm a moderately influential warlord. And you? Who are you?
I'm the guy to save you from all this awesomeness.
So you go through all the things, you're defining a psychology for it, you're defining a plan for how you're going to execute it.
This was found behind the same refrigerator. There are 7 deadly sins, Captain. Gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. 7. Hold on.
That's not even my desk.
You can expect 5 more of these.
Roll the tape. Get the tape.
Jim, we have a call. We're going live.
The camera is going to trap them in amber for all time. And we're not gonna save this in coverage. I'm gonna get a good master, maybe 3 that are very different. And then I'm gonna go into coverage and I may get 1 to 3 really great overs that are really interesting. And then I'll bring back and do singles.
You sound like you're in a great deal of pain.
My head aches.
Let's meet and talk.
But I want to cut the scene the way I want to cut the scene. I want to cut the scene the way the story mandates.
And action. Now cut it. And action. Nope. Once again, play the last one back, Bane.
How many takes was it?
I'm sure in
26.
I have to ask you about the takes. You famously have a lot of takes.
You spend $250,000 on a set. You're going to bring a $150,000 crew in. You're going to bring actors in from all over the world. You're going to put them up in hotels. They're going to come there, and the idea is to get them out as soon as possible.
Good. Once again, and faster on the...
Faster, faster, faster.
Good. Once again.
250 of these. Left, right. We're going to go. My philosophy is, we shot 7 takes. Okay, now let's start. You know, are you done? Because, you know, I know you won the Oscar last night in the tub, and you figured out what this is going to be. But now I want to get beyond muscle memory. I want you to know exactly where to sit in that chair. I want you to be really comfortable because it's your home. And so you come in, you throw your coat on the couch. When you've done that 15 times, it starts to look like you live there.
Because the Facebook is cool. If we start installing pop-ups for Mountain
Well, I
Dew,
wasn't
it's not going to be
thinking
cool.
Mountain Dew, but at some point, and I'm talking as the business end of the company. The
We
site.
don't even know what it is yet. We don't know what it is.
Then he comes over, and proximity and the honesty with which he's saying,
If there's ever anything wrong, you can tell me. I'm the guy that wants to help. This is our thing.
that makes you uncomfortable. And then he asks you the thing that, now, I need to check just to make sure you're not leaving anything out. Take that and go, no.
Okay.
I'm not,
No.
I told you before, I'm telling you now.
Now, is there anything that you need to tell me? No.
It took me a while to get comfortable with the idea of saying another one, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about this, and I want you to, you know, because again, so often you're pressed up against the glass going, please don't take this the wrong way. I need you to come out and I need you to try. We're going to try one more. We're going to go through all that so that you can get to a place where you go, yeah, I've tried this, I've tried that. No, really, it's over here. And everyone can feel good about this is what we're trying to tighten.
The famous like Fincher, relentless number of takes.
Relentless number?
Holden, right? So you can call me Ed.
It's so funny because the scene with Ed Kemper is a perfect example, I think, of the multiple takes, because we did that scene over 2 days.
Can I get you something? You want a sandwich?
No, I'm okay.
Well, what kind of sandwich you like?
I'm good.
You want an egg salad sandwich?
I'm fine.
There's a potential for a lot of comedy built into this sort of wide-eyed innocent agent across the table from this giant person.
Well, it's more of a research thing.
Research?
Just a series of interviews.
Talking about what?
Well, I don't know. Your behavior.
Why are you so tense?
And that line where he says, "Why are you so tense?" And I say, "I'm not tense." Previously, in the previous takes, I've been doing all this like shtick of I'm not tense and like doing all this stuff. And David was like, "What if you do nothing?"
You're tense right now.
No, I'm not tense.
I'll be honest, I don't get many visitors.
It's changed the whole sort of energy of that moment. It created something more realistic. It took away like the actory comedic shtick that I was doing, and it feels really honest. And we found that after a bunch of takes.
And it can be a debilitating thing for, Mark Ruffalo made a joke about it once, that I was shooting a take 17 or something. He really thought he had nailed it, and I walked right past him and went to somebody way deep in the background and told them to move 3 feet to their left.
Once again, here we go. Roll it.
You can talk about that as being perfectionism, or you can just say, look, it is your responsibility to edit out those things that people are going to see that take their eye off the ball.
You don't want to overshoot it and then end up there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we have to correct, if I understand you, the tilt for the previous keyframe.
Yep. And action. And puff. We're a little soft. Go a little deeper with the focus.
Cut. You're wrangling a circus that has to, over a course of 100+ days, you need everybody to peak at the same time. We follow her, we stay on her. Marco grabs back, we stop. She looks, she exits. Good, here we go, back to one. Dolly grip has to peak, camera operator has to peak, actors have to peak. In the over the shoulder, you may have the most wonderful actor in the world and you're just seeing past their ears. And if they're doing this, it's incredibly distracting. Now, there's no room for error on this. You're too low and you're too far over. You need to be up a little bit, you need to be back a little bit. And so to me, directing is not so much what you want to see. On the day, it's about limiting all the stuff that you don't want to see.
Little garish, you're gonna put the helmet here. Need some more back in here. This cable should be dressed in here to look like somebody who's, and it probably should come from over in here. How's that for focus? Okay, good, back to one. Here we go. Okay, listening to music, earbuds, pulling your wires, smoking, and thinking evil.
You can safely say that anything that you can get with a film camera, you can emulate with a digital camera if you're willing to give it enough time and do enough delving into it. If you're able to, really look at an image and be able to describe what it is that you love about it, you can emulate anything. Green is a color that really, really disappeared in about the mid-1980s. Because a lot of telecines and a lot of televisions, a lot of displays. Sony is one of the greater offenders of this, but there's a lot of pink that was sort of injected into making people look healthy and happy. And so displays, and you can see it on, when you open your MacBook, your laptop, you'll see that there's a lot of extra pink and magenta in the lower ends, and I hate that. I think it sucks, and I think that the idea of like pink, healthy, happy people is fraudulent and needs to be destroyed. So,
all right, come together, let yourselves cry.
Oh God, why are you doing this?
It's cheaper than a movie and this free coffee. Why do you do it?
I don't know. When people think you're dying, man, they really, really listen to you instead of just
waiting for their turn to speak.
Yeah.
Yellow is really what happens when you rate a digital camera at 4,000 Kelvin and then shoot between 2800 and 3200 Kelvin practical sources. And you do get that kind of exacerbated yellow. And I just didn't feel like when you correct it out, people's, especially blonde women's hair tends to look kind of grayish and their faces then go into this sort of ruddy pink thing. So I don't have a love for green as much as I have a hatred for pink.
It's called a panic room.
We're trying to make strangers feel something at the same time.
Oh my God. Old Sidney didn't miss a trick, did he? Open it, please. And with kids like he's apparently got, no wonder he wanted a place to hide. Please open the door.
That is highly.
If you talk to a production designer and they're good, they're not talking to you about, oh my God, do you have any idea how many people it's going to take to come in here and, how many, we got to lay all the subfloor, we got to do this, we got how much paint it's going to take. They're not talking to you about that. They're talking to you about the feeling. They're talking to you about the thing that you want to evoke. They're talking to you about, well, I don't think that Benjamin at this point in his life should be living upstairs. I think he should be living downstairs. And I think the reason why is because he has to be living with the help. So you have those kinds of discussions. When you're talking to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, you're not talking about use this synthesizer or this drum machine or whatever. You're talking about, I need a feeling happening here. I want spa music. I want that kind of, I want your version because he can't do anything like anybody else. He's gonna make it Trent Reznor.
Kind of good. I'll do another one.
I want your version of the kind of music that they play when you get a massage. It's always supposed to be this music that kind of calms you and lets you know everything's gonna be okay. Give that to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross and see what they come back with. And you end up with something that makes you go, it just sounds like the hair standing up in the back of your neck. But it still has this idea behind it because the idea is the important thing.
Make yourself to home, Mr. Mankiewicz, or shall I call you Herman?
No, please, call me Mank. Herman Mankiewicz, New York playwright and drama critic, turned humble screenwriter, Mr. Hearst.
You're a filmmaker with such command of sort of every facet of how you build a movie. Tell me what you did technically for this movie to sort of like recreate, the feeling of the movies of that era.
It was very much the view of Hollywood as the MGM Dream Factory.
This is a business where the buyer gets nothing for his money but a memory. What he bought still belongs to the man who sold it. That's the real magic of the movies, and don't let anybody tell you different.
In this style that was very 30s and 40s, and it really required an arm's length in order to appreciate it. So with that in mind, I just always felt the movie should be made in black and white. I always felt that the movie should have some of those trappings of what cinema was like back then. So we were using solutions of the period for specific problems, like Day for Night.
He doesn't own MGM any more than Sam Goldwyn. They just run it for the money, boys, back east.
Except you can't be as deeply cynical as you pretend to be and make this movie. I refuse to accept anymore your fake vision of the world as viewed by this jaundiced eye. You've revealed, I think, to the world that you actually have a tremendous affection for humanity with this movie.
Oh, Mank, are you ever serious?
Only about something funny.
Do you think about your movies in terms of, I made this, so now I'm going to make that, or I finally got to make my dad's movie, or, how do you view your career as a sort of body of work, or do you at all?
I don't. I've always felt like things come together for a reason, and it's best not to overthink that stuff.
Put the gun down.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, baby.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
Become vengeance, David.
Oh, she's all right. You tell me.
Become wrath.
You know, if I thought about a filmography at all, good God, why would I have done so many serial killer movies? I
think that's self-evident.
I just stopped years ago.
You met me at a very strange time in my life.
Mark! How about now? You still wired in?
There are a lot of people who are going to stand between you and what it is that you want to do. Kids who say, well, you know, how am I going to make my movie unless I can, you know, get Hollywood to pay for it? It's like, get an iPad. Like, go make your movie. You know, you can write on it. You can email that script around to your friends. You can get them all to show up at the same place. You can film with it. You can edit with it. There's no excuse.
Well, that, my friend, is the magic of the movies.
Hold up, Oscar, mate. Big smile.
I'm doing a lot of television, and I hope to do some really off-putting and interesting stuff.